She won most talkative in high school, and she has been running her mouth ever since. Welcome to the Lisa Fisher Said podcast with your host, Lisa Fisher.
All right, Chef Jamie McAfee, you have had a very eventful 2021.
Yeah.
And it started when you called me in May. I posted about intermittent fasting.
You did.
And I said I was group coaching, is what I said. And you said, I want to be your first private client. And I go, all right, how are we going to do this? And you said, what do I do? And I think that was the day after Mother's Day, right? Was that like
May 9th, 10th?
Okay. So it was right after Mother's Day, and you pulled the trigger. But let's go back. You and I had talked a couple of years ago. I was doing
the chicken.
I was doing a cooking class up at Eggshells.
Correct.
And you were there. You were my sous chef. Isn't that cute? He was my sous chef.
I was.
He came and surprised me, and he did his famous soap salad. It's amazing. And then you had tried, I think you were starting intermittent fasting. That may have been about 2019.
I think so. And I started it, but I didn't realize that I wasn't doing a clean fast. I was still living on Diet Coke, but I drank a lot of water, but I had the flavorings in it. So basically, all I was doing was starving. I wasn't intermediate fasting.
Yeah, because you were white knuckling it, right?
Correct.
Like when you do that, this is what people don't understand, Jamie, and it's the science. Now you know, because you are a type 2 diabetic. I think you would share that. And I don't tell your business, but you've told me I can tell it. So I've been very protective of you, but that's your medical business. But I know that's part of your story. But what people don't understand with insulin, it is released even in 0-calorie foods if it has a flavor. Because that's the first argument people have is, well, it's a 0-calorie food. It's a Diet Coke, Lisa. What harm will it do? And I went, all the harm in the world.
Yeah, I cannot tell you. I think I was 12 Diet Cokes a day.
Oh, my goodness.
Easily. And then not include when I did have a drink.
Yeah, my goodness. And I'm not saying my goodness in a judgy way. I'm saying my goodness. Look at, because you told me when you sat down, we're drinking our water, you're drinking coffee now, because neither of us has opened our feasting window for today. And that's how we look at things, because we do a daily fasting and feasting window. But I know when you said when you came in, you haven't had a diet soda since May.
Nothing artificial.
That is very, very impressive. Going from 12 to 0. And the other thing, the other benefit, and this is something I was telling Jamie even before we were recording, is our gut health is affected not just by anti-inflammatories, birth control pills, antibiotics. Those are the three things people always talk about, but those diet sodas actually hijack our microbiome. And if your microbiome's not healthy, you often can't get healthy. You can't lose the weight you need to lose because your microbiome is sick. And so what you've done is you've totally removed that from your diet. And
thank goodness.
Yeah. And don't you feel better?
Oh, I feel like I'm 40 years old again.
Isn't that crazy?
And it's just been amazing, And I will say the first time we tried intermediate fasting, I wasn't mentally prepared. But when I started the clean fast, I was mentally prepared. I was tired of being fat.
Well, let's talk about your job every day. It would be hard. I don't see how you did it with the amount of weight. Now that you've lost, it's almost 100 pounds. It's 92.
91, 92.
Okay. We'll stay almost 100. By the time this airs, I bet you're at 100.
Hope so.
But you were walking around a kitchen because you were, how many hours a day do you think? 16 hours? 12?
14.
14 hours a day.
Consistently.
Okay.
The average, I do a step on my phone. The average steps were 3.5 miles a day.
Oh my gosh.
So that's just walking back and forth. But, Lisa, a lot of people don't realize, I think a lot of my success was, if I walk down, I got 6 chefs that work each shift, and I might taste, one be making soup, one be making a sauce. Well, back and forth could be 1,500, 2,000 calories. And you do that all day long. I was probably for 35 years living on 7,000 calories a day. And I just went to, probably 1,500. And I think that's the reason I had such huge success early. It's
cutting out the nibbling.
Yeah. And the reason intermediate fasting was so good, it let me know I had a window. I couldn't taste to eat all day. For 35 years, I basically woke up at 7 in the morning, started eating, and quit at 10. So, and then if I had a drink or two, I went home and eat junk. So I don't do that anymore.
Well, you've been the executive chef now at the Pine Bluff Country Club. What, 20? Has it been
20 years.
20 years? And before that, we knew each other from
Yeah.
the McGee Delta. Was it
Delta
the Delta Country Club down in
I
McGee?
was 20 years there, and actually February the 4th will be 20 in Pine Bluff.
Is that right? So you've always been in a kitchen. You've always been in what people think is the height of temptation. Yet in the height of temptation, now we're going to go to the calendar. In May, you started, and I think you say your weight was
Right at 370.
370. Okay. Right at 370.
A little over, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And we all have that. We're all up a pound or two down a bit. It's just inflammation. You didn't poop. You didn't have enough water. I mean, I got to be frank with you. So you started at that weight. Within the first month, Jamie, it seems like you lost like a crazy amount. What was that the first month? Do you remember?
I don't remember. It was close to 25 pounds. You know,
Yowza.
It was like a pound a day for the first month.
Wow.
You know, but a tremendous amount of fluid, I think. I was always real bloated.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I took 100 milligrams of fluid pill. I don't even take it anymore.
Well, your medical profile has definitely changed.
Oh, went from 8 medications to 4, and expect to be taking off diabetes medicine this January.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I think you play your cards right. I mean, what you've been doing. So we'll go back to the science of it. That insulin is released anytime even there's any flavor at all. So what you've done, Jamie, how many hours was those first windows? Were they?
I started 16, 8.
16 and 8. Okay.
The first week, and then I just dove straight into 20 and 4.
You did? How did you know you could do that?
Because I knew the longer my window in the kitchen, the worse I was. Because if you grow up snacking for 35 years, the longer window that I could snack, I just felt that it was more dangerous to my success.
Well, you're also talking, this has science backing that up too. Mm-hmm. So even if someone like right now is watching going, well, can I dip my toe in? You can dip your toe in. And if you're going to do anything, you could start with a 16 and 8 window. But I would even tell those people to stop snacking.
Absolutely.
Because it's the constant barrage of insulin that prevents your body from tapping into your fat stores that you burn for fuel. You told me in the very beginning, it may have been in May or June. So what we see with someone who's fasting like this is autophagy. And that is the cellular cleanout. It's a, magical cellular cleanout that happens after you've been fasting. We think about 18 or 20 hours, won the Nobel Peace Prize for medicine in 2016. You told me in the very beginning, you said, I feel like when I reach autophagy, I can feel it.
You can.
You said, I feel like, because what it does is it eats your old sick cells, which helps your immune system, but it also is when your body is burning fat for fuel. You said, I can feel it.
I still think I can feel it.
Yeah.
I can feel when my body is eating stored fat or absorbing stored fat. And to be honest, it's a great feeling.
It is a great feeling.
It's so like you've taken a booster shot or something. You just get all type of energy. And you really, if you get used to doing it, you really don't want to eat because you don't want to lose that feeling. Because once you eat, you get sleepy or get, sluggish.
Oh, it's what the lion does in the Serengeti. I mean, he kills his prey, and what does he do?
Sleep.
He goes to sleep. And that's what food does to us. And which is the antithesis of what food marketers tell us. They tell us if you're hungry and you need some energy, eat a Snickers bar. No, it makes you feel worse.
Yeah, it really, and that's what is shocking is obviously I've always drank a lot of water because it's hot in the kitchen. My wife is a very good food consumption. She's I call her the organic queen, but she's always tried to get me to drink mineral water and things of that nature. I think about 2.5 months in, I called you one day. I think I had a Topo Chico. What do you think about this stuff? And she goes, your taste buds change. And, even in my world of chefs, our taste bud change every 7 years. But if you wanted to change something for 30 days, it's typically all it takes. And, now I live on 12, 14 bottles of Perrier a day, or mineral water.
Do you remember you also called me, so you started in May, in July or August, you called at me and fussed at me. You said, "What have you done to me?" And I go, "What?" And you said, "I'm craving Brussels sprouts."
Yeah. I've always liked them, but now I do eat a lot of vegetables. I eat a lot of protein. I'm probably more towards seafood than I am beef. I love beef. There's nothing better than a Doe's ribeye, that, or a Doe's T-bone. But
right.
I just don't eat. I try not to eat unhealthy. Try not to. I'm not saying I don't, but I eat a lot of salad, and I love a rare salmon on it. But it has to be charred. I can't eat fish that's not charred. It has to have crust on it. So, but if I had a go-to meat, it'd be pork or salmon. Those two proteins. But what's amazing is even during the Christmas holidays, I found myself not eating like I used to. Not eating until I was so full I was asleep. Once I got full, I'd push it to the side. Now I did eat the M&Ms and stuff that people brought, and potato chips, but instead of the whole bag, I was manageable and eat half, a third. But I've called you several times about non-scale victories.
Yes.
Being able to bend over and pick up a water top bottle out of my truck was probably the most satisfying that I've done. Another one is being able to go buy clothes at the regular guy at Dillard, not have to veer to the fat guy section. Those two are huge. I've gone from a 52 waist and I buttoned a 40 yesterday.
And what size were you in high school? Did you tell me? Were you 40 in high school?
I was a 40 in the 7th grade.
Is that right?
Yeah. Now I've been up and down all my life. I've lost the Metafast.
Yes.
I lost 120 pounds. I got to a 38 at that point, but 3 months later I was 120 pounds. It all went right back up. But what's amazing is you can tell. I think I called you one day on a long fast. I was so proud. I did 40. You said, "Go eat. Eat. 2 good meals." So we had our grandchildren and in Little Rock, so I ended up eating my catfish, Five Guys.
Good choice. Good choice. Yeah.
And then I think we went and got ice cream. Went to a movie. Obviously, eat popcorn. Not as much as I used to. And I called you the next day. I felt like I'd been in a 3-day drunk at a deer camp. I said, "What in the world has happened?" She said, "That's your body saying, what in the world did you do?"
Yeah.
But I finally learned to listen to my body. If I eat a lot of sugar, I know I'm going to have sore knees, sore joints the next day. If I consume stuff that I'm not supposed to, a lot of carbs, I do eat carbs and sugar were my weakness. And I think the reason for that is I think I got an instant satisfaction out of it. And, I've learned to control those urges. Not always, but I've gone from never controlling them to at least controlling them.
Well, serotonin's released with carbs. We know that. And serotonin is feel-good chemical neurotransmitter that our body produces. So it's important that we have, and carbs are good. They're fine in moderation, but we keep wanting more of the feel-good, and we sometimes we overeat. We feel bad. You've told me the last few months, that's been really your message to me. You go, I just listen to my body now. Because would you have ever thought in 2 weeks before we talked about it, let's say the 1st of May, if I said, you're going to be doing 42-hour fast, you would have hung the phone up.
Yeah, the whole month of December, I did 40-hour fast, 8-hour windows. And there were some days I'm not going to.
Because you're in a kitchen. He's in a kitchen the whole day making food for people.
I was doing a party for a great client. She had one of those Southern menus that you just dream about cooking.
Yes.
And that was the hardest day, I think. I ordered it black-eyed pea cakes, like a crab cake, Southern biscuits with orange marmalade and ham.
Oh man.
Shrimp and grits. You know, just that, not only that, the smell coming through it. I'd been 36 hours. I finally had to leave the kitchen. I said, guys, I got to step out for a moment. But I made it 46 hours that day.
Unbelievable.
But what I'm pleased with is being able to buy clothes at a regular store. I've been buying them at Walmart because I don't want to spend a lot of money on clothes yet.
Sure.
But I've given all my fat clothes away. And, being able to just feel good. I did a private dinner in Little Rock for, she's a kidney specialist at internal medicine. And she told me that you'd probably increased my lifespan 15 years. And I just want to be able to continue to do what I do, is cook.
Well, you're
and
good at it.
That's when I'm at my happiest, when I'm in the kitchen. Now, I think I can finally say that I have kicked the tasting habit. And I called you right around Thanksgiving, told you I tried an 8-hour window and I'd gained about 5-6 pounds. That immediately told me, let's go back to the 20 and 4. And I've been stuck at about 85, 90 pounds. I've gained about 5. So the month of December, when I went 40 and 8, I managed to lose all that plus, So I'm constantly between 282 and 285, which is a lot better than 370 something.
In the beginning, did you have a goal weight when we first talked about this?
Below 300.
Well, you've done that.
I've done it.
And now that you're sliding downward, because you're also saying, if you listen to your body, right? That's what we're trying to say, that your body may be telling you, well, let me continue to get smaller, even though in your mind you thought a different number.
My goal is I want to hit 270. 3 days during December, the long hard fast, I got to 278.
Yeah, I remember that.
Of course, I'd gained 3 or 4 pounds when I eat. So I think 270 is a couple months away.
But
maybe a month away.
What we see with non-scale victories is the scale may not move, but your clothes.
And that's what's amazing. Some weeks you might gain a pound or 2, but you lose an inch or 2 inches. And I want to say you can feel that, but you can definitely feel it when you put your clothes on. The pants I have on today, I first bought, a couple months ago, and I'm so proud I could button them. Laurie said, you don't need to leave the house. But those breeches on, I put them on this morning. She goes, you need to buy a smaller size. So, just in that month and a half, I've lost, or 2 months, I've lost another 2 inches in my waist. And I'm now, and she said the neck on this T-shirt today is a little loose. Mm-hmm. It's a 2X, and I just custom ordered some T-shirts with high necks because, she said these are getting too big. Mm-hmm. Now I do wear a long because I'm long-waisted, but I can see myself in a month being in an extra large. I can't tell you how long that's been. I was in a 5X T-shirt.
Wow, that is unbelievable.
I was in a 5X chef coat, or 62, 64, and I'm now buttoning a XX. It's loose.
And so what is that, about a 42?
I think it's a 52.
Oh, 52, okay. Yeah, because the chef coat is different from the traditional size.
So I run, I have 4 or 5 blazers in the closet that's 4X, and I just bought a 2X. Could button it. So, I guess I've lost 12 inches from the neck down, basically. Mm-hmm. Even my lower leg, you can tell, I've lost a lot. So, as a matter of fact, I just went and bought a size 10 ring. I was in 11 and a half. So I've lost an inch and thing in my hand. And that's the first place I usually see my weight loss, just my face and my hand. I don't know why. But I was just glad to get rid of this. I'm still a big man.
Well, but you're getting smaller every day.
But I'm not a extra large man anymore.
Well, let's talk about the difference then in what you're doing with fasting at a time restrict, because you're having a daily eating window again in the month of December. And we need to explain that. I kind of challenged you and said, because we're looking at this as the health plan with the side effect of weight loss, right? And the health plan is that we want to you want to reduce your medicines. That was a goal.
Correct.
And your metformin where you take for type 2 diabetes. And so you would read me your blood sugar readings. Of course, this is not medical advice. I just said, well, now what people do if they still are having high glucose readings, because we know longevity is tied to lower glucose readings and lower fasting insulin. I said they have longer fasts, but then in the days that they eat really well. So you did that in the most challenging month of the year for non-chefs. And then you had 1,000 parties. You fed 1,000 people, and you did all that. So let's talk about what your blood glucose has done.
It was the average daily during, obviously I didn't eat a lot, but I was up and, being energetic. Around noon to 12, maybe sometimes 2 o'clock, the average reading was 88 to 90. And when I got up in the mornings on long fast, it was 110 to 116. Now I eat yesterday a 20-hour window. It eased up to 126. So the long fast made me have a lot lower glucose reading. And to be honest, I felt great. But I think you challenged me to a week.
Yeah, I did. I didn't eat the whole month.
I went ahead and took it.
Right.
I took it
Right.
because I've always been that way.
All or nothing.
When I dive into something, I'm
Yeah.
all or nothing. So I said I can do this for. I made it a month. And to be honest, I could, and it's mentally. You got to
totally.
You got to wake up and
Totally.
say, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Yes, you get hungry, but one thing I've learned in intermediate fasting is a hunger pain only lasts 15 minutes. Can
you repeat that?
One thing I've learned in intermediate fasting is a hunger pain only lasts 15 minutes. You can find something busy to do for 15 minutes. You can walk outside, look at something, or, even grab a bottle of water, or just, go talk to somebody. But,
right.
I get out of the kitchen, just go sit in the living room and just say, hey, I need to chill for a minute.
And that's what we don't, we think that hunger is an emergency. It is not. And if you drink some more of your sparkling water or iced tea, you drink black coffee.
I do espresso.
Which is great. Which is great. I just don't like it. It tastes like coffee. Oh, nasty. But when you do that, you also kind of buy yourself some time, and then you realize I'm really not that hungry. Because you told me during some of the longer fasts, and you kind of mentioned that even after 40 hours, you said you weren't starving.
Yeah, I wasn't starving, but some days you didn't want to be in front of the refrigerator.
Right.
I'm walking at a steady pace to it.
Right.
But,
right.
In May, I never dreamed I'd do 38 days of 36 to 40 hour fasting. Even my wife said, this is crazy. My son said, Daddy, you need to eat. But you get grouchy sometimes.
Yeah.
I need more grouchy than I do. But
right. right. Same thing with me.
You know what they say about chefs? You're kind of hot tempered at times.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. Another thing you gave up, though, from the beginning, which has spawned some interest from people, you gave up alcohol.
I did.
And tell me why you did that. I gave no recommendations on what you should eat or drink.
The reason I did it is my willpower. If I have 3 drinks visiting with you at the restaurant when I go home, if I was to open a bag of potato chips, I eat the whole bag. So I knew, you get to feeling good, you say, forget about it. I'm going to do this or do that. And I knew if I give up alcohol, I could have better control of my willpower. Not that I had a problem drinking, I just had a problem eating. Why? Because I don't like the buzz feeling alcohol gives you.
Oh, you don't?
No. So I enjoyed the taste.
The flavor, yeah.
But I always found myself eating, trying to so I wouldn't get drunk or get the buzz. So that's the reason I quit alcohol. I've had alcohol 3 days since May, and that was my wife's 60th birthday. I had an employee that got married, and I walked her down the aisle. She asked me if I'd have a drink. Yeah. I had 1 drink. And, I left that night early because I knew if I had any more, I'd want to eat. So that was right in the middle of my 36 hours,
Is that right?
in December.
Wow.
So I had 1 drink and left, probably a little too early, but I, did it. So. And I just, one day I was outside doing something, got hot, and I come in and drank a beer. So And I hadn't drank 20 beer my whole life.
That's insane.
But
Okay, well, let's
I
talk.
don't miss it, to be honest.
You don't?
At Christmas, I went to see my sister. We had family Christmas, and I always carry a bottle of bourbon with me and never opened it. They said, "You're not going to have a drink?" I said, "No, don't want it." Well, so I'm not saying I won't ever drink on a regular basis again, but right now I don't miss it. If I never drank again, it wouldn't bother me. I'd rather have water or coffee right now.
Yeah.
Now, I do still like a Coke,
Mm-hmm.
but if I drank a Dr. Pepper or a Coke, it's not artificial. It's the straight sugar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you're going to drink any of it, drink the fully leaded, the good stuff.
Now, one of my weaknesses is I love D8 juice. So I used to at night.
I remember you would drink that.
But now I just put, if I'm not, my window's not open, I just eat crushed ice with Himalayan salt.
Okay, that is a trick and a tip for people who do intermittent fasting. It's that you have an electrolyte imbalance.
Right.
And so you really,
it works.
Yes, you from the beginning. So did you the first week or weeks ever have headache?
Oh, yeah. I had withdrawals.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I told you when you sat down. So we're recording this on a Tuesday. I was on a 2-week sugar bender, clearly. And yesterday I didn't have sugar. Y'all, I had a headache from being without it for 36 hours. I was like, and so that's it. So I mean, it's because it's so good and it's so addictive, but
it's good. And I also do all the baking at the club. So, I was in one of my 36-hour fasts one day, and I was, just powdered sugar happened to get up on my lip. And I'm thinking, you tasted it a little, but the old Jamie would have been tasting everything. So.
Well, let's talk about also the science behind what happens when you eat. So this is why people, especially for me, because I like a 20 and 4 window, it's kind of my favorite, but some days I'll do 23 and 1, and other days I might do 18 and 6. I mean, it's good to, I've told you this, to have metabolic flexibility to kind of change it up, to keep your body guessing. But you couldn't just now come in and give me just a snack, because if I did and I open my window, food makes me hungry.
Correct.
Have you noticed that?
Absolutely. Once you start eating,
then I need food.
But what was used to, I'd order a 30-ounce steak if I wanted one, and I never would eat all of it. But now I just is satisfied with a 4-ounce.
Are you kidding me?
Piece. But I've never been but I still like potatoes. That's probably one of my weaknesses. Starch I do like. I probably raising my sugar was up a little bit yesterday. I ate some fried rice.
Maybe, it could be a number of things. Plus, you also, and people need to understand this. And again, this is not medical advice. This is what your doctor would tell you. You can look up the dawn effect, and we've talked about it. It's a phenomenon that happens with our pancreas in the morning, releases just a little bit more glucose to get us going about our day. It's really primal, and it's just the way God created us. So for people, and I know you'll notice when you do check your blood sugar in the morning, sometimes you will be a little anxious because it might be 120. So now I'm challenging you either to get the continuous glucose monitor, which I've done just as data to see what my body was doing. And I'm very insulin sensitive, so I'm fine. But it's a good way, and your doctor has to prescribe it, to find out what your body's doing 2 hours after you eat. Because that's showing us, is your insulin being released and doing its role, and its role is to lower your blood glucose. So
I think I'll go see him next week so I can ask
your endocrinologist. Yeah. Either he or your family practice, really anyone can do it, but he probably would do it as an endocrinologist because he would want to, because before I think he cuts the cord with the metformin, he's going to want to make sure throughout the day that your insulin is responding and it's not resistant.
Right.
And so insulin resistance is what we've known, because you and I've talked about it, is the predicament that it's a high number, like 80%. Even if you're not overweight, you could be insulin resistant. And insulin resistance, it's what spawns cancer, to type 2 diabetes, to PCOS in women, endometrial. I mean, all these health problems because you're insulin resistant. So insulin is very important. In fact, you got the book that I told you to get, Why We Get Sick.
I read it. Well, actually,
Listened to it. Yeah, me too. Because George Newbern from Little Rock, who is in Father of the Bride, he reads the book. So he does a great job doing it. But it's probably the most telling book the most interesting book that I've read about health and science and insulin that I've ever read. And I'm a big proponent of all Dr. Fung's books. Now, have you read those or watched his videos, Dr. Jason Fung?
Some, no,
Yeah.
no, not all.
His books are good. They're a little sciencey. He's an MD, and Ben Bickman, who wrote that book, is a PhD, and he's a college and university instructor, so he's just a great communicator. But Dr. Fung gets a little sciencey, and so I've both had his book in printed copy and I've had audio. I've enjoyed the audio better because the printed copy is his chemical equations and things, and it's a little bit too much. But to me, it's good. I think that's one thing. It's been fun with you is watching you learn about your body and knowing how it works.
And what I do for a living is it's made me stop and say, hey, we need to write this down. I need to write a recipe because I lived on one reason. If you go in a Wolfgang Putt restaurant, you go in my restaurant, as long as me, a Wolfgang or a Sam Choi is in the kitchen, the food tastes like it always has. And, but we taste it all the time. So I've started writing a lot more recipes down. This is what I put in.
Oh,
this
good.
is what I've done it. So it's made me, tackle the weakness of writing recipes.
Mm-hmm.
The Asian culture is the reason the restaurants are always so consistent is they're such mathematicians in recipes that they do it correctly. So, this has started a new journey for me. Maybe I'll finally write the book I've always
Oh, good. That's great.
But I'm just enjoying life right now. I feel like, just in your home today, I was able to walk up and downstairs. Normally, in May, I couldn't have done that, or I could have done it, but it'd been a lot more painful. I haven't started exercising yet, so.
Well, you're getting in how many steps a day? You're fine.
Yeah, I did.
That
about
is
4 miles.
And that's what I think people need to realize too, that exercise isn't something you do at the gym. It's something you do in your everyday activity, and you do it every day. Now, the one thing I would encourage you to do just for your overall mental health and physical health is getting sunlight every day. You're in a kitchen so much. That's what I tell my health coaching clients, just to go outside, make sure you get some fresh air.
Yeah, I grew up as a very avid golfer. Matter of fact, had a very low handicap, and I stayed in the sun. Yeah. So I give it up because I was so heavy, it wasn't enjoyable to do anymore. So maybe I will get back into golf and getting outside, a little bit more. But my doctor prescribed me vitamin D because I wasn't getting enough sunlight.
Well, that's really typical of anyone north of the equator. People wear sunscreens, which I don't recommend. But again, that's something you have to take on your own because they're carcinogenic. We know that. That's through science. And a sunscreen blocks the sun. I don't know why we made the sun the bad guy when the sun really, we know even with COVID and some other things, if people have high vitamin D levels, they fight COVID better, they fight viruses better. And for some reason, the sun was villainized, and I just think it's silly.
Overall, I feel healthy.
I know.
And I haven't felt this good in my 30s and 40s.
Well, you said the younger chefs are even noticing that you have energy. They have more energy than they do.
When I'm in a long fast, they say, oh, Lord, we're going to have to, if we're not busy, we're cleaning. So, but you should be doing that anyhow. But it's easy. For years, if I didn't get an hour nap between 1 and 3 o'clock, I was just grouchy. But I think I've taken 3 naps since May.
Well, that was in the beginning. We had to work your window around your nap. I remember. I'd forgotten you hadn't had a nap in.
I haven't had one. Even if I go home, I prop my feet up. I don't nap anymore.
Just give your body a little rest. And rest is good. Yeah. Rest is right. And a nap's fine. You just don't need it anymore.
But I sleep better.
Yeah.
I even wear support stockings, always have. And I noticed lately when I put them on, they were knee highs, but they never would come quite to my knees. Now they come over my knees.
Right.
Because my legs are
getting so much smaller.
So.
Well, what do you think? For one thing, I feel like intermittent fasting gives us freedom. I don't worry about my weight. I don't think about it. I don't think about what I'm going to eat. Do you feel that freedom?
Yes. if I want to, like last night, I ate one scoop of ice cream, where in the past, I just had craving for ice cream. I eat it. But in the past, it had been 2 bowls.
Mm-hmm.
So now the one bowl satisfies me. So, mentally, and I'm not going to lie, mentally you have to be prepared the first month especially. But once you tackle that mental issue, and if you determine, it's you don't have to worry about, I can't have carbs, I can't have this. Eat what you want in that window, satisfy yourself, and then quit. And that's what's been huge for me.
Well, you see that your cravings change.
Oh, they have. And if I'm in a 4-hour window and decide to eat, open it for 4.5, I don't beat myself up. Next day we go back to whatever it is. If I didn't make it 36 hours one day, if I did 35, I didn't beat myself up.
Good.
I said, hey, I did it. So.
Did you before this have a diet mentality where you did Diet Coke because it was 0 calories, or you had to know how many calories were in something before you ate? Yeah. Isn't that nice to not have that noose around your neck?
Yeah. Don't have it, don't want it back. A lot of people do. Even when we would eat, well, I'm going to eat healthy, but I had a great friend come to the restaurant and said, I'm not going to eat a cheeseburger today. And I fixed him a chef salad. He ended up eating 2 cups of Thousand Island dressing. And I said, do you realize you just eat more in that dressing than you could eat 2 hamburgers? Darn it.
Yeah.
But, you have to watch what you eat. But, I love not having restrictions on what I want.
That was your biggest, I think, kind of hurdle that you didn't believe me in the beginning. I think you kept saying, or can I, or what if I have a carb? I'm like, eat carbs. Carbs are good. What you start realizing is, and Dr. Bickman says this in a lecture I heard him say the other day, that if you have foods if you're buying things at the grocery store that have barcodes and come in bags, they will never satisfy you.
Yeah.
But if you buy foods from the perimeter of the grocery store, meat obviously has to have a barcode, but he just means if it's processed foods that have hyperpalatability, they don't satisfy you. And I have a pantry behind me. You could eat that much potato chips and want more, but you'd never eat 3 fully loaded baked potatoes because you'd get full.
Correct.
Because of the signals to your brain. So what you've shown us too is, and Dr. Fung says this, and I think it's probably the most profound thing he says, and that is, obesity is not a caloric problem, it's a hormonal problem. And the hormones are leptin and ghrelin and peptide YY, some other smaller ones, but ghrelin is the one that tells you you're hungry. Well, you've tamed that beast. You're not hungry all the time. And leptin tells you you're full. You showed me earlier, you were using this even as an example of just you push away from the food, the ice cream, because your ghrelin and leptin work now.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize. When you do a diet, it doesn't fix the hormones. It fixes the caloric intake.
It does.
But you said it was 3 months later you'd already gained your weight back from Medifast.
Yeah, at least that, and I had my niece. I hadn't seen her in 3 months, and I pulled up at Christmas Eve, and she said, "Wow," and she goes, "I knew you had lost a lot of weight." She said, "Just the way your body looks, you can look." She goes, "You look skinny," and I'm still 280. I mean, that's not a small man, but you don't see just rows and rows and rows of fat anymore.
Well, I think the other thing you have communicated with me is your breath. You said you used to be so winded.
Oh, yeah.
You said within the kitchen, and think about a hot kitchen in the middle of the summer. My goodness. And
it's 120 degrees.
Oh.
Even my son has said before riding with me, he had the bypass surgery.
Gastric bypass.
And he said, "Daddy, I can hear you breathe. You're not breathing well." He said, "You seem like you're struggling." So I don't have that issue anymore.
So you
and I've even started, I can't tell you how many skin tags. I've even started losing all my skin tags. Not all of them, but, I've gone from 100 to 20.
Wow. So skin tags are a sign of high insulin and insulin resistance, high circulating insulin. Because again, insulin is important, but high circulating insulin resistance causes that. You told me that when you would take a bath, Well, for one thing, your towel
Yeah.
size changed.
Yeah, I hadn't been able to wipe a towel since high school football. You wrap it around your waist going to. I think I called you one night. I said, I just wrapped a towel around my waist.
You said you didn't have to use a beach towel
I
anymore.
didn't
You
have to
could use
use
just
a regular old towel.
the towel that's in the bathroom. And also, so that autophagy, that magical period that happens with your cellular clean out. In fact, you even think that autophagy's prevented you from getting ill this winter when a lot of people in the kitchen are getting sick. That absolutely happens. But you also said that because you like to take a bath, you said there would be a ring around the tub. And you said, I think it's my body detoxing.
That's what my wife said. What in the world did you take a bath with? I said, I just took a bath. And she said there was like a green foam around all it. I said, I don't know what it was. And she said, I bet that's detoxing.
Yeah, it is. It's the body. Because, we were never designed to eat all day. Fourth meal, we were never designed for fourth meal. Our grandparents maybe they ate a breakfast at 7 or 8. They had lunch, and then they had dinner at 5.
Yeah,
they weren't snacking all day. They weren't in front of a device, eating mindlessly.
I don't watch a lot of TV because of the food commercials.
Oh,
but,
they're there for sure.
I just don't. I'm not a socialite like I used to be, because I leave the restaurant as quick as I can when I'm fasting.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be tempted. But, I can sit and socialize a little more now, but especially, up until a month ago, once I got through cooking, I beelined it out of there. Because somebody's going to say, let me buy you a glass of wine. Or let me, and I just didn't want to be put in that situation. So. But I think I can control it now. That's one thing that shocked me, is being able to control, what I want to eat, when I want to eat, and peer pressure doesn't bother me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, sit down, taste this, or sit down, have, I'm good. I just soon eat. And I love to eat crust ice. So I get a cup of crust like Sonic ice.
Yeah, I've got it right over there.
I put a little, Himalayan salt on it, and
that Himalayan salt really helps.
Oh, I keep them. If you open my console of my truck, I don't have Himalayan, I ran out, but I have rock salt, sea salt.
Yeah, something.
And I just, every now and then I just rub my gums with it. And I'm hungry. I'm not hungry for it.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. I didn't think it would.
Yeah, that is a thing that has really fascinated me and plus salt also has been villainized, and there's new research coming out all the time. If we're villainizing anything, it needs to be sugar and processed foods, but we need salt.
Got to have it.
In fact, I just saw science about it yesterday, that people with high blood pressure, if they increase the good salt and decrease the packaged foods, that their blood pressure came down. So again, science backing that up.
I was reading an article, a chef's wife asked her husband, how much salt do I put in here? She did this, and he took the top off and did that, a couple of shakes of it. She goes, my God, he goes, where do you think it tastes good from? If not all this other stuff you put in it. So we get our flavor from salt.
Yeah.
And we use a tremendous more amount of salt than people think we do.
And it's magical. It's so good.
Oh, it takes a dish, and especially if you get into the Asian culture where they got the bitter and the salt mixed perfectly. It just goes together like a marriage.
Wait, let's go back. There's one person who motivated you to do intermittent fasting, and it was another chef.
It was. His name is Patrick. He's a chef, now the executive chef at Chanel Country Club.
Oh, good.
I'd tried what I thought was intermittent fasting, and he walked in one day. We was cooking for the chef's ball, and I said, how much weight you lost? He said, 90-something pounds.
And that's where you are now.
I said, how in the world do you do it? He said, intermittent fasting. I said, Lisa mentioned something about that, so
she's kind of running her mouth about it.
I said, I think I'm going to do it. That's when I called you a few months later. But what's funny is everything that you asked me to do, I do. My wife says, damn it, I've asked you this for 30 years. You won't do. Now you're doing everything she says. I said, well, I think she holds me. I think enough of you that you hold me accountable.
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you.
We've known each other a long time.
We have, but it's been fun, and I think I could even, any way I could help somebody do it, because they think I'm around food. I'm around food.
I mean, that to me, you're the king of it. I mean, you're in a kitchen. Wait, there's one more thing we haven't even talked about. You're a culinary instructor where you're supposed to be tasting their foods. And on your long fast, you weren't tasting.
I tasted their final grade this year. I said, y'all done well, but you better be glad I wouldn't taste it all semester.
Because it wasn't
it wasn't as good as it looked, but they done a fantastic job. But yeah, I teach Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. I only teach in the mornings on Tuesday and Wednesday, all day Monday, but I've done that for 20 years. But it's I have the energy now to walk around and say, hey, try this, try that. I love giving back. That's the reason I teach. One of the reasons, not the only reason. But yeah, I don't taste like I used to. But what I've done is I've paired them up, and y'all taste each other's. And then what I've also taught them, what it's taught me to do is now y'all critique yourself. Because if you're going to be in this business, you're going to get a lot of critique.
Yeah,
so you
that's
might
right.
as well learn to accept it. You might as well learn to give yourself critique, because the sign of a great chef is, this is what I've done wrong. Even a great home cook.
Yeah.
I should have done this, or I should have done
that. Jamie, I do it every day, but I don't follow recipes. I don't measure, because I don't measure. I don't know. It changes from dish to dish, but I do it to myself all the time.
Well, when I look at it, when a professional chef looks at it, the way I look at a recipe, if there's an herb in it that I don't like, I 86 it. Yeah. And 86 means in our world, don't use it.
Right.
So if I was to, I don't like to use that word. I have a very sensitive palate to cloves, because when my grandmother, they'd cook her ham, if there was one clove in it, there was 300.
Right.
So that's the reason I make my own Lee and Perry Worcestershire sauce.
Oh, you do?
So, I have a very sensitive palate to cloves, allspice. So anytime you see that in one of the recipes around me, I just kind of, I use just enough. You say, what's in there? But, it's taught me a lot, and it's, life's exciting now.
So it hasn't affected your end product? Like no one at the club has ever noticed
a
that?
A few. I can't say that it hasn't.
Really?
We made some mistakes, but we make mistakes all the time.
Yeah.
The great thing about being a professional chef, most time we catch it, we don't serve it. But, me tasting the food, I can say it was probably, there's been some instances that, it didn't go down as well as it should have. But, you just have to trust 46 years of cooking and say, hey, this is a good product.
Yeah.
And, and I did a vegan meal for a lady that, you think I'd hung the moon. So when somebody likes that, enjoys it, you've done a pretty good job. One thing I've learned, eyes don't lie. Drunks and eyes don't lie. If somebody really enjoys it, they tell you. And you can tell a fake enjoyment out of it.
That's good.
Like if I'm carving prime rib, hey, would you like it medium rare or medium? I look at people's eyes. Well, that's okay. Well, no, it ain't, because your eyes scream.
Oh, I'll remember that.
So, and that's what you have to teach the younger generation. Learn to read people to the best of your ability. Everybody's going to say, hey, that's the best meal I ever had. Was it? Was it the best meal you can produce? And but for me, intermittent fasting has been the best plan of food health that I've ever done. So I think that's the reason I'm so successful. And it's not hard to be successful when you see success. When you see it close, I was in a very tight 52, then I went to a 50, I had clothes anywhere from my small clothes were 48 to 52.
Oh, so you're below your small clothes.
Oh, yeah. I'm very loose 42, and I bought a pair of 40s yesterday.
Yeah.
Now, they were snug, but they were, I don't know why all the clothes you buy nowadays are slim. I guess all these body types, but I could wear a 40 easily.
Jamie, in 2022, you're going to be in 38s.
Yeah, I hope so.
You are. Look at, and you have seen the scale slow down. You've made that obvious, but that's okay. That's okay. Okay, we got cooking tips and we've got fasting tips. Now, who else's podcast has that? I would say nobody's. So proud of you. You've done a great job.
For once, I'm proud of myself.
You should be. It is tremendous what you've done, and you have inspired so many people. I've gotten so many clients because of you. People say, all right, do to me what you've done to Chef Jamie. I go, well, it's his mindset. He's the one who said, I'm flipping the switch and I'm not going back.
And I did flip.
Yeah. And you're living proof. Okay, folks, this was it. Perfect.
Thanks for listening to the Lisa Fisher Said podcast. Be sure to hit subscribe and download all the episodes and leave a review, won't you? The Lisa Fisher Said podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.